during the afternoon. That will help to really put a lot of these temperatures in check. But it's going to come with a lot of heat, really, as we head through the rest of this afternoon. Let's look outside right now, and here's the view over downtown Sarasota. You're seeing just partly cloudy skies. Had some good storms work their way through Sarasota earlier. Those have since come to an end. I do see some more storms down into Sarasota County. We'll check SkyTower radar in just a minute, but as we work our way up the coastline, view along Bayshore Boulevard from our Brookdale Bayshore camera, and you are starting to see maybe a little bit of those thickening of some of these clouds, indicative of just more instability in the atmosphere. In fact, if you look way off in the distance here, let's go ahead and see if we can circle this area. Right through here, you see that little hazy look? That's a storm. That's up into northeastern Hillsborough County. So there's some activity starting to show up. And we did see some of these storms yesterday, even though we were talking about those lower rain chances through the weekend. Still, where you see those storms, they will tend to be on the strong side. And that's exactly what we saw. We're seeing some strong storms around again today. But you look at that visible satellite, first thing this morning, through those mid-morning hours, we did have some pretty good storms up to our north. You can see they were developing right in that general area. Those quickly fell apart, and you can see that outflow boundary just race on towards that southeasterly direction right through here. You see that line just kind of race out. And what we'll be watching for is some of these outflow boundaries, and really I think these sea breezes that really help to activate some of these storms. So I do think it's going to take several more hours until we start to see maybe a little bit more of some of these bigger thunderstorms through the area. Although still today, that 30-40% chance, probably on that lower 30% chance of seeing these storms around as we go through the afternoon. But by tomorrow, we're really going to start to ramp these rain chances up and give a better chance of those storms for everybody. Again, doesn't mean everybody's going to see those storms. It's not going to rain all day when we give these rain chances 60 to 70%, but just it's a better chance of seeing these storms. So you look at the radar right now, and I've circled that one storm, and there you see it, up into north and northeastern Hillsborough County. You've got this one pretty close to where I-4 and I-75 come together out towards the fairgrounds. You see that one cell popping up there, then heading further to the north where I-75 and 275 come together. Just to the south of that, we have that other cell developing, but that is sliding down towards the south. The one down towards the fairgrounds looks like it's just popping up in that one spot. We'll watch to see if that starts to drift a bit further to the south. Have another one south of Brandon down towards Bloomingdale. Looks like that was trying to pop up and starting to fall apart a little bit. But again, we're going to see more activity as we head through the rest of the afternoon. Elsewhere, you do see a few storms developing down into Sarasota County. Let's zoom into Sarasota. Most of this right now is into, say, either southern or southeastern Sarasota County, and then just crossing that line down towards Northport, heading into Charlotte County, and along I-75, a little bit of light rain into Charlotte County as well. We also have some other storms that are into Highlands County, south of Sebring, so basically between Sebring and Lake Placid. So overall, still fairly quiet. We have seen more storms up on the north and northeastern part of the state. In fact, look at this. This is up towards St. Augustine. Stop this here so we can get an idea of where we've got going on here. And you can see until 3:30 this afternoon for Putnam County, we have a severe thunderstorm warning with this moving pretty much in that general direction of Palatka, in basically to the west of I-95. We also had a pretty strong storm for a time right along the coastline just to the south of St. Augustine. There you see it as they put that into motion for a time, having that warning there. And then you can see over towards Gainesville, over towards Newberry, some strong storms in that area as well. In fact, let's put that lightning counter on. And when we move back over towards the East Coast. You can see definitely a lot of lightning here, over 750 strokes of lightning in this view here. So we do have some pretty active storms, and it's a sign we're starting to bring some of that moisture back over the state, and that's going to eventually lead to a better chance of those storms as we go through the coming days. Go out wide once again, and you see really over central Florida, things are just starting to fire off. And we'll just continue to watch that radar as we go through the rest of the afternoon. In fact, as you look down towards Cape Coral, down towards Bonita Springs, we also have some stronger storms down in that direction. But we're also talking about the heat. We've got this heat advisory that goes until 6 o'clock today. In fact, basically, we're covering the entire state with this. And how often do you see that? I mean, it's Florida. We know it's going to be hot, but we basically are taking this to a new level with that heat index between 105 to 110 as we go through the afternoon. So that risk, that heat risk outlook, really, you see many of these locations, you're getting into more that purple shade up through the Panhandle. We're seeing this into southeastern Hillsborough County as well, where we're seeing some of these areas. That's where you're going to see some of that most extreme heat that's that purple shade, that extreme risk, because of just how intense this heat is and that heat index, or that feels like temperature. So over the past 18 hours, there you see, we just didn't cool down much through the overnight hours. Now, for a time today, we were up to 94 degrees at 1 o'clock today. You can see we shot from 91 to 94 degrees today. Wind switched around, and they were starting to move more off the water, and that's a little bit of that sea breeze trying to get cranked up, and that's what helps to limit that temperature. So it's very muggy out there, but it dropped that temperature back a little bit and put it in check somewhat. So you look at the temperatures right now, and I mean, it's stifling out there. When you look at these numbers, you have that 94 in Bradenton, 93 in Lakeland. Winter Haven, though, 97 degrees, frostproof, 98, so loads of heat around. And the issue is, many of these spots where we have this temperature, 97, 98 degrees, that dew point number, that's up into the mid and upper 70s. Over towards Orlando right now, 95 degrees. Tallahassee currently sitting at 96 degrees. But then look at these dew point numbers. Here in Tampa, we're at 77. St. Petersburg, 78. As you head up into Tallahassee, 73. Gainesville, though, 77. Those really high dew points. That's what really brings that heat index up. So as you look right now, that current feels like temperature here in Tampa, 107. So remember that criteria we were looking at with that heat advisory over the state. We're talking 105 to 110 in widespread areas. That's exactly what you're seeing with that 107 here in Tampa, 107 down in the Sarasota, Panama City, 106, Tallahassee, 106, or Panama City rather, 110 right now. So definitely very dangerous conditions across the state. You're going to be outside in this kind of weather today. Really, anytime this number is getting up like this, you really want to limit your time outdoors if you're doing any kind of strenuous work, regardless whether you're doing yard work or you're just playing golf or heading out to the beach. You have to stay well hydrated. You have to take those precautions to stay safe out there. So that ridge of high pressure, that's what was really dominating our weather so much over the weekend. It's starting to shift a bit further towards the west, which is also allowing a lot of this moisture, which is sitting to our east. It's going to allow that to start to work its way right back over us. Now, if you were watching last week, you may recognize this pattern because it's extremely similar to what we had last week with this area of moisture, which eventually became Invest 93, working its way over the state, pushing into the Gulf, and then we watched to see if we're going to get any development with it. And we never did have any development, but it helped to increase our rain chances and increase the rainfall that we did have over the state. And then it worked its way through the Panhandle all the way over into Louisiana, giving them a lot of tropical rains as well. And guess what? Here we are again, watching another area working its way over. And a lot of this is some of that leftover moisture with that area because it just cycled around that high pressure and then pushed right back out into the Atlantic. And it's going for round number 2 working its way over the state. Cold front's working its way across the mid-Atlantic states and across the Northeast, helping to clear them out, and that's giving some cooler temperatures up in that direction, with Buffalo at 72, up into Burlington, Vermont, 71 degrees. But across the southeast, across the southern half of the country, just really locked in with a lot of that heat and humidity and stifling heat. And at that, where you see Nashville currently at 94 degrees. So as we continue through the rest of the afternoon, we're going to watch for more of these showers and storms to develop. Again, today, we're still in some of that transition where we're bringing those higher rain chances back down over us. And these storms will wind down for tonight. And then by tomorrow, we're upping those rain chances 50 to 60% as we go through the afternoon hours. We'll continue at these higher levels over the next couple of days, Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday, as we're heading towards the weekend. It does look like yet again, this moisture will work its way out. Ridge will start to build in. We'll watch for another drier trend as we head into the weekend, which means we're going to bump those temperatures up as we're bringing that rain chance down. So coming up in just a little bit, we have another area that we're watching in the tropics. This is Invest 94. We'll have the latest on that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back to SkyTower weather now. Just another check of that moisture sitting off the East Coast, and that pattern that we're watching, just so similar to what we had last week, moving right back over the state as we head through this week. So that's what's going to really bump those rain chances up as we go through the next couple of days. And then that moisture will be working its way on towards the west. And look at that. Drier air works its way right back in as we head into the weekend. And that's what's also going to help to drop those rain chances. And we all know this now. You drop those rain chances in the middle of summer here, and you're going to really crank that heat up. So looking at the tropics, where we've been so far this season, no hurricanes, no major hurricanes. We've had 3 named storms, and so far things have been fairly quiet, and it remained that way. Just to go back and review, we talked about these invest areas, these areas that the Hurricane Center highlights that we're going to be watching. And it just gives you an idea. We've got 3 different colors that we are watching with these. We have the yellow, the orange, and the red. You have that circled area, looks somewhat like a jelly bean. That's the region that we're watching for possible development. If there's some sort of a center of the disturbance, they'll have an X on it, and they'll have that arrow showing, pushing into an area that it may be developing in. And then we're talking about those odds of development, just a percentage there, just to give you an idea of what we may be talking about with this. So when we're looking at a yellow shaded region, that's somewhere in that 10 to 30% chance of development. Once it becomes between 40 to 60% chance of development, well, that region, it changes into an orange shade, and then you have the red shade between a 70 to a 100% chance. So just simply by looking at those colors gives you a really quick indication when you're looking at these various maps on the likelihood that something will develop out of one of these areas. So here we are looking at this area, which has now been designated as Invest 94. Hey, it's yellow. Tells us right there, low percentage of something happening with this. And you can see why. Look at all the dry Saharan dust sitting to the north of this system. So it has to contend with that. It is a weak area of low pressure. Through the overnight hours, it did have a nice little flare up of the convection, and so it was starting to look a little bit more impressive. But since then, a lot of that has started to diminish. It's still producing some of these areas, so it's still an area that the Hurricane Center will continue to watch, and they're running the models on it just to kind of keep tabs on this, make sure nothing unexpected happens with this. But the dry air, and then it's going to be dealing with that Saharan, not only Saharan dust, but increasing wind shear as this works its way into the Caribbean. So if you were just looking simply at these models, you might say, hey, this is moving into the Caribbean, and this is something we've got to watch. What it doesn't show you on that track is the winds. The winds in the atmosphere are just not conducive for any more development. So by the time this moves into the Caribbean, it's been dealing with all that dry Saharan dust, and then it's moving into an environment which has stronger winds in the atmosphere. So it's just not going to allow this system to really establish itself. There you see it working its way right through large areas of stronger winds. So just a lot of things stacking up against this system having that ability to really organize itself and to strengthen. Here we are looking at it on the Fox model, which, by the way, Fox model was looking at this last week, and it was starting to show some of these tropical waves may become a little bit more vigorous, maybe starting to show at least some signs that we would pay attention to them. It certainly did not show that any of these would develop, and that's pretty much what we're still seeing with this. A lot of that dust sitting to the north of this, and you can really easily track that wave working its way on into the Caribbean. But notice as it continues through that higher wind shear environment, you really start to struggle to tell exactly where this is. So it is, again, showing this is starting to weaken and really becoming a much more diffuse system. Now you're looking at the winds here, and you certainly can tell as this moves into the Caribbean, you have this area here where we get some of those peak winds a little bit stronger, but then notice as it moves through, that just drops right off. So this system is not going to develop. In fact, it looks like it will weaken quite a bit as it works its way into the Caribbean. Just looking for that low-level spin, and you do see that area right here. The model picking that up, but as we continue to watch this pushing into the Caribbean, you see once it moves in there, starting to experience those stronger winds, So you see what happens with it. It just falls right apart. And that pretty much is the end of that system. But at least for now, we do have Invest 94 out there, but that very small chance of any kind of development. And we're right on the edge there. You see that tropical activity, peak of the season being September 10th. We're heading towards that second half of July now. And once we head into August, that's when we really start to get an idea of what kind of a hurricane season we're going to have, because that activity really starts to ramp up throughout the month of August and into September. So we hold with three names used: Andrea, Barry, and Chantal. We're waiting to see when Dexter might show up on the map. So we'll talk more about our own local forecast. We'll check SkyTower radar, see how some of these storms are doing. I'm looking back and I'm seeing a couple more storms starting to pop up. And we'll talk about that 7-day forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. St. Pete Beach looking pretty nice this afternoon. By the way, water temperatures, they're warming up. Currently sitting About 87 degrees, a little more like bath water out there, but loads of people getting out and enjoying the weather this weekend, getting out and enjoying those beaches, and we've had some really nice beach weather over the past several days. Now, as we head through the next couple of days, we're going to start to increase these rain chances. So you're heading out to the beach, you're going to want to keep that SkyTower radar app handy so you can keep the track of those storms as we go through the afternoon hours. Temperatures right now just continue to heat up. 93 degrees right now here in Tampa, 96 right now in Clearwater. Bradenton, you're currently at 94 degrees. Sarasota, 91. Then you look away from the coastline, Lakeland, you're at 93, but Winter Haven and Bartow, both at 97. Again, these are not heat indices. These are the actual air temperature, frost-proof right now, right on that cusp of hitting 100. 99 degrees right now in frost-proof. Wauchula, 94 degrees, so loads and loads of heat around right now. There's the heat index, that feels like temperature, frost-proof. We've got that air temperature of 99, so your feels like temperature right now, 114 degrees, 113 in Clearwater. Bradenton currently at 110 degrees for that feels like temperature. Starting to see more activity up across the northern part of the state, up towards Jacksonville, stretching over towards Daytona, Gainesville, and to the west of Gainesville. A lot of these showers are just tending to start to drift a bit further down towards the south. Watching into Hillsborough County, and we're starting to see more activity developing over towards Mango, down towards Brandon rather, and Bloomingdale. All this starting to drift more towards that southerly direction right now. So definitely seeing some stronger storms developing and then moving right down I-75. And we'll continue to see more of this activity developing, starting to see a little bit of lightning in some of this as well. Looking a bit further to the south, down in the Sarasota County, looks like a couple of showers trying to pop up down into extreme southern Sarasota County. There you see that one towards Inglewood right now. A couple others down towards Punta Gorda as well. And that activity sliding towards the south. So we're going to start to see more and more of these storms as we go through the afternoon. But today, still that somewhat of a transition day. We're bringing that moisture back. We're starting to push that high away, which is going to allow for a better chance of those storms. So a better chance as we head through the next couple of days. You watch Futurecast as we head through the afternoon. You do notice most of that activity as we head through the rest of the afternoon. It's going to start to favor some of those inland locations to our north as well. Storms will wind down for tonight. And here we are again tomorrow, seeing a better chance of those storms developing as we go through the afternoon. It does look like we get a bit more of that active afternoon sea breeze, which will help to develop these storms and work their way into those interior locations. We're going to keep these higher rain chances through Tuesday, Wednesday, heading into Thursday. I think by the time we head towards Friday, heading into the weekend, we're going to start to see some of this drier air starting to work its way back in, and that ridge building back over us. So 7-day forecast, loads of heat around. We've already hit that 94 for today, but those rain chances, they're up to about 60% as we head through the middle of the week, and the heat returns right back towards those mid-90s as we head into the weekend. So that's all the time that we have for today. Keep an eye on SkyTower radar as we go through the afternoon. We'll see you again tomorrow at 3 o'clock.